Today we're going to talk about how Sahil Bloom takes care of his friendships and his relationships in general. So the first tip would be that when it comes to friends, there are three types of friends. They're leaves, branches, and roots. So basically the leaves are the friends who come and go, the friends that are like there for certain seasons and then they're not there anymore. They're not deep connections, they're just there for fun. When it comes to the branches, these are basically friends that you can lean on, but just a bit, because otherwise they bend and break. So you can't get too much emotional support from them, but a little more than just leave friends, so to speak. And then when it comes to the roots, these are the friends that you can actually rely on all the time and that are always there for you no matter what. And when it comes to these, you're probably going to have very few of them. And if you have these kinds of friends, keep them close, because they're very important. And you can be lucky if you've even just got a handful of these kinds of friends. And then the second tip would be to schedule your relationships and kind of systematize it so that it's easier to make time for your friendships and relationships in general. Now, Sahil Bloom often gets criticized for this point because people think that if you kind of put human connection in a system, then that basically makes it unnatural and unhuman. But it's a great way, in my opinion, and Sahil Bloom's opinion, to actually make sure that you're taking enough time for your friends and to make it a little easier too. Sahil Bloom often talks about how he used to only see his parents once a year, and then when someone asked him how often he sees his parents, that person kind of woke him up to the fact that if he only sees his parents once a year, they're already quite older, they're probably going to live 15 more years, more or less, and if he continues just seeing them once a year, that means he's just going to see them 15 more times. And that really woke him up, and now he makes sure that he makes lots of time for his parents because they're not going to be there for that long anymore. And he really didn't like the fact that he could count the amount of times he would see his parents on three hands, so to speak. And when it comes to his son now is very young, and that's why he makes sure that he spends lots and lots of time with his son, because this is the phase in which he as a dad still plays a central role in his life, because once kids become teenagers, they start losing interest and start wanting to spend more time with their peers instead. And also kids grow so quickly, especially when they're young, and he really doesn't want to miss those years. So he's making a huge effort to spend as much time with his son as possible right now. And obviously he also makes time for his wife a lot as well. On a podcast episode with Rangan Chatterjee also pointed out that his son once asked him, "Why don't you make 3 videos a week? That would actually get you way more views and so forth, and you'd be way more successful." And Rangan Chatterjee replied to his son that if he did those, that would mean that they'd spend less time together, and that's the reason why he only wants to continue making 1 video a week. Sahil Bloom once pointed out that sometimes the things that we once prayed for become the things we actually complain about. For example, sometimes parents complain about their baby's crying and so forth and how stressful everything is. And yes, it is stressful, but many people, including Sahil Bloom, had a miscarriage, and at that time it really made him and his wife very sad that they weren't sure whether they were going to be able to have a child. And then the third tip would be that falling in love is easy, but growing in love is hard. So growing in love would basically be going through healthy conflicts, going through tough times together and staying together anyway. And that is actually really hard. Now, if you want to hear more tips on relationships, but by Arthur Brooks, you can watch this video here.